Welcome everyone to Young at Heart, session number 162. I'm Father James DeLucio with the Paulist Fathers, ready, willing, and able to offer you nursery rhymes, stories, songs, poems, Mother Goose, Aesop's fables, Lewis Carroll, limericks, larks, and such, and other things to keep us all young at heart. We're continuing to explore African American folktales, and today I offer you part 2 of The Maiden, the Frog, and the Chief's Son, an African version of the Cinderella story, as I'm sure you've already discerned. Our story yesterday introduces us to this young maiden whose mother and she were detested, hated by their father, who, as was the case in these African tribes, like the tribes of early Israel and most other places and nations, had multiple wives. Well, maybe multiple lives too, but multiple wives. And so now, when her mother dies, she's given over to the care of the father's favorite wife. She, of course, equally detests this poor young girl. She has a daughter of her own, of course, whom she favors. Our young maiden has to do all the work in the tent or hut, and that includes creating the different meals, fetching the water. The meals are in the morning a millet called fura, and in the evening another grain called tuwo. And she's not allowed to eat this with her stepmother and half-sister. She has to wait to the end of the day where she can eat the very bottom of the pot, that part of the gruel that sticks to the pot. So she does this, but she doesn't eat it all. She shares it with the frogs in a nearby pond. Thankfully, she has a brother who she will visit and who feeds her more fittingly for a growing young woman. But we don't learn much about the brother. He comes and goes. He's just a quick reference. We left off yesterday when bringing the remains of the pot to the frogs. The leader of the frog is waiting for her, and he says, "We want to thank you. We'll do you a favor since you've been kind to us." And he says, "Come tomorrow, for a festival is beginning in the village, and we have a surprise for you." Festivals. Well, she's delayed all day because she's given more work. Where does this sound like to you, huh? What does this sound like to you? And when she comes now, the frog asks her to give her her hand, and he takes her and they plunge into the pond or a lake. I don't think it's particularly specified. And here we go. The frog picked up the girl in the water and swallowed her. And then he brought her back up. "Good people," he said, "tell me now, is this girl straight or is she crooked?" And they all looked, all the other frogs, and they replied, "She is too bent to the left." So he picked her up and swallowed her again. And then he brought her back up. He then asked the same question. "She's quite straight now," they all said. "Very good," the frog replied. Now, you didn't expect this, did you? I didn't. The frog then produced from his mouth all kinds of clothes for her, and bangles and rings and pairs of shoes. One shoe is silver, and the other is made of gold. "And now," he said, "off to you to the dance." All these things were given to her, and the frog said, "When the dancing is almost over, and the dancers begin to leave your golden shoe behind, the right one there." And the girl replied to the frog, very well, old fellow. I understand." And off she went. Meanwhile, the chief's son asked some young men and women to dance for him, and then he saw the young girl as she arrived and joined the dancers. "Well," said the chief's son, "there's a maiden for you, if you like. I'm not going to let her join the dancers. I don't care where she comes from. Bring her here." So the servants of the chief's son went over to the young girl, and they came back with her. The chief's son told her to sit down on the couch, and she took her place there. The two chatted for some time until the dancers began to leave, and then she said to the chief's son, "I too have to leave." "Oh, are you off?" he said. "Yes," she said as she rose to her feet. "Well, I'll accompany you for a while," said the chief's son, and so he did. She, in the meantime, left her gold shoe behind. After a while, she said, "Chief's son, you must go back now." And he did. She returned home on her own. The frog was sitting by the edge of the water waiting for her. He took her hand, and the two of them jumped into the water. Then he picked her up and swallowed her and brought her back up, and there she was just as she had been before. A sorry sight. And, taking her raggedy things, she returned home. When the girl got back, she said, "Fellow wife of my mother, I'm not feeling well." And the woman said to her, "You little rascal, you've been up to no good. You have been away, and you failed to fetch water, and you failed to fetch wood, failed to pound the fura, or make the tuwu. Very well then, no food for you today." And so the girl left for her brother's compound, and there she ate some food and returned home. Meanwhile, the chief's son had picked up the shoe and said to his father, "Last night I spoke with a girl who was wearing a pair of shoes, one made of gold and one made of silver. Look, here's the golden one. She left it behind. She's the girl I want to marry. Let all the young girls, young and old, gather together. They can each try on the shoe." "Very well," the chief said. And so it was proclaimed, and all the girls, young and old, gathered into one place, and the chief's son went with the shoe and sat down. Each girl came and tried on the shoe, but it fit no one at all. Then someone said, "Wait a minute. There's that girl in so-and-so's compound whose mother died some time ago." "Yes, that's right," said another. "Someone should go fetch her." And someone went and fetched her. The minute the girl arrived to try on the shoe, it ran over to her and slipped itself on her foot. The chief's son said right then and there, "Here's my wife." At this, the other woman, the girl's father's other wife, said, "That shoe belongs to my daughter. It was she who left it where everyone was dancing, not this good-for-nothing layabout." But the chief's son insisted that the shoe fit the girl who was there. She was the one he wanted to marry and take to his compound in marriage. And so they took her there, and there she spent one night. The next morning she went out of her hut and walked behind it, and there was the frog. She knelt down respectfully and greeted him. "Welcome, old fellow, welcome." He said, "Tonight we shall be all along to bring some things for you." And she thanked him, and he left. Now, most tales would sort of end there, but there's more, and you're going to be very surprised tomorrow when I read you the conclusion of The Young Maiden, the Frog, and the Chief's Son. Thank you so much for joining me today. Meanwhile, please note that I have started my Luke Live program in short segments, 10, 15 minutes or less, on this Facebook page, on my Luke Live Facebook page, and on YouTube, James DeLucio. I'll be offering proclamations of Luke with some commentary, and please read the comments below because I'll offer more questions, and so I'm very happy to be offering that to you on weekdays, Monday through Friday. So please check that out. I'd be happy to share my work and exploration of Luke's Gospel with you. And I will continue on a mostly daily basis with Young at Heart, more ways to engage and to reach out to you. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed part 2. As I said, tomorrow, part 3. God bless everyone. Stay healthy.